thanks, folks, for joining us for another episode of the Rec Poker Podcast. And if you don't know what Rec Poker is, we're just a group of fun-loving recreational players. Doesn't mean we're not serious poker players. It just means that we do other things in our life for work, and this is what we do for fun. We love poker. We love learning together. We love talking about it, and we love sharing our love of poker with others on this podcast every week. So a few things I want to just mention right off the bat. I want to thank a couple premium members who have stepped up recently and taken the plunge. Stephen White, who I know I've seen in a few of the strategy conversations so far. Stephen, I know you're having trouble finding time to get that study in, but thanks for doing it with us, and I hope we can help and reach out anytime. And Kathleen Karen, who I haven't gotten a chance to get to know very well, but Kathleen, thanks for giving us a try. And anytime you want to chat about poker, you can email me, jim@rec.poker, and we'll talk poker. The other thing I want to mention is Gareth James is coming aboard. We're going to be doing a monthly study group with Gareth James. The next one comes out, the next one's available for you to join this Saturday, December 18th. So if you're around on Saturday afternoon, check out the rec.poker events page, and you can come hang out with Gareth James and talk poker strategy. But he is just one of the many folks that we work with here at Rec Poker. I should tell you, my name's Jim Reed. You can find out about me and all the other members of the Wrecking Crew by going to rec.poker/crew, or you can find out about John Somsky right here because he's about to introduce himself.
My name is John Somsky, and I'm known as Poker Geek MN everywhere, and you can find me at home games.
It's true. John runs our online home game program, and we keep him pretty busy with that one because we do about 40 of those a month, which is a lot of fun. But again, we're talking to people we love in the poker world. One of them is the one and only Chase Bianchi, and he's calling in from a little north of Boston right now. Chase, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellas.
Well, you've had a colorful story in poker. Your poker story is fun. You seem to play in a lot of different tours and events you get around, and you seem to really enjoy the game. Can you talk a little bit, just to introduce yourself, before we get into kind of like what's been going on recently? Can you talk a little bit about sort of what got you involved in poker and what keeps bringing you back?
Sure. I'm definitely the poster boy of the moneymaker boom. Watched it on TV and was hooked. And actually started playing with my high school junior varsity baseball team. And we'd play like once, twice a week over the summer. And they joke that all the moms would joke that I have a summer job because I'd beat everyone out of our $5 or $10 buy-in game. I kind of just took it a little more seriously than everyone else, and have really loved the game. And one thing leads to another, and here I am.
Yeah, well, everyone, it's funny, we talked to most of our listeners are recreational poker players, and so they kind of know some of the big names, but they may not know all the details into how that story came across. You've been sort of consistently cashing in events for years here between the PCA, the WSOP, the EPT, and all over the place like that. What do you think, like, how did you get from playing in those baseball games to taking it more seriously and taking the next step like that?
I think online poker was a big part of it. Way back then, you could play anywhere. I borrowed my dad's credit card. I said, "Hey, Dad, here's $50. I'm going to play some online poker." And that's a really big stepping stool, I think, to poker in general, getting your reps in online. You can play a $1 buy-in, you don't have to play. When you go to a casino, you can't play anything for less than $100.
Right.
Online poker was a big stepping stone. And I also worked in the industry. I dealt poker for a number of years. So I was kind of around poker a lot of my young adult life. And eventually it stuck and I stopped going broke.
Talk to us a little bit about playing in the game and how that affected your playing abilities as well. Like, working as a dealer and that kind of thing. I mean, because people talk about that all the time and how you're there putting in hours, seeing people's faces respond to the action, and seeing different bet sizes and that kind of stuff. How helpful was that?
So I would say that I didn't gain a lot of like strategy from being a dealer, but one thing it did is it just keeps your mind kind of occupied about poker.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're, especially if you're a lot of dealing jobs, you're dealing small limit games, and kind of just like watching people throw money around. There's not a lot to be gained from it, but it kind of keeps your mind spinning on poker. So it kept me interested. It kept me thinking about poker, I think, is a big thing.
I think that's a great point. And I think it's especially for recreational players like us, we do kind of tend to dip in and out of poker because we have real jobs, we have all these other things going on. And so it's like a golfer living up north. You got to shake that rust off every spring, and it's hard to kind of keep developing all the way along. John, did you have something you wanted to add there?
Well, I was just wondering, what has so you've been playing for quite a while. At what point in time did it become your main way of making money?
So when I was like 18, I moved to Washington, state of Washington. The gambling age was 18 there, so I could work at the casinos, play at them. But I really wanted to play full time, and I would kind of go back and forth. I'd like tell my boss, "Hey, take me off schedule for this week. I got a bankroll." But it wasn't until I really kind of matured a little bit, managed my money a little better, and was in my like early 20s that I actually really played full time, not just like playing for a couple months, going broke, getting some shifts back at work. So I had to mature in the way I handled my money as much as I had to mature in the way I played poker.
I think that's something that is one of those non-sexy truths about poker that is just very, very important. Bankroll management and game selection. That's as much of a key to being a winning player as grinding the solvers. Can you give us a couple of like specific examples of like what it looks like to be more careful with your money or to be more thoughtful with your bankroll?
Sure. I get this question from non-professionals or like aspiring professionals a lot of like, how do I build a bankroll? And one important thing when you're trying to build a bankroll is I think most people should keep a job, like work your full-time job. But even if you don't want to go pro, if you want to just build your bankroll, say like you play 1-2 and it's like, I want to play a 2-5 someday. That's great. And one thing that I think a lot of players do wrong is they'll treat their bankroll like their fun money. And if you want to build your bankroll, you kind of have to let it sit there and be your bankroll and not dip into it for other stuff. And like, I want to go out, I'm going to take some money out of my bankroll. As a professional, your bankroll is your life roll. So it's hard to separate them. But if you really want to grow that, you kind of got to leave it aside and treat it as its own thing.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's the tools of your trade, right? So you got to have those tools available when you go to work. When it comes to the other side of things, like the strategy side or like the skill as a player, how do you, or in your case, how did you kind of decide that you had become good enough? Was it results based? Was it like your comfort making decisions? What made you feel like it was time to step up?
So I think it was a combination of the two. You have to post some results and have some winning track record. You can't just study theory all day and decide that you're good enough. You have to have some like empirical evidence of, oh, I'm winning at this rate over these hundreds of hours. And the other half, yeah, is studying, and you got to put in some work to get better. Experience is good, but it's only going to take you so far.
And what kind of studying did you do to get better? Like, I know it wasn't that long ago, but it was kind of like, the technology keeps improving. At the time that you were making the plunge, how did you study? How did you get better? What did you do to improve?
Yeah, so we were in the early days back then. I remember I had pencil and paper.
Yes.
And I would write out the size of the pot, and I would do like arithmetic. I would do like calculate, okay, how often does this bet have to work? And we do some long division.
Yeah, same way, man. I love that.
By hand, man. We did it by hand.
Yeah.
Counting combinations. Oh my gosh, that was so hard.
Yeah.
Nowadays you have tools to do that, so you can be so efficient with your study these days.
Yeah, and the efficiency of the study, that's really important, right? Because whether you're a pro or a recreational player like us, time is not infinite, and you only have so much time you can put into it. So using it effectively becomes really important. Did you have other people that you studied with, or did you just sort of like study in a silo? And tell us about that a little.
So I would say I went more of the lone wolf path. But one thing I'll say is that I used a lot of like training videos, stuff that is more bite-sized and condensed when we're talking about making something accessible, while having someone explain it to me in an instructional way. Pretty helpful when, especially when you're starting out. And then once you get more advanced, you can kind of dig into what these guys are doing to explain it to you.
Yeah, kind of on that same note though, about the efficiency of your time. If you can get someone to kind of guide you through some of the more complicated things, or even just kind of show you what to focus on or some pitfalls to avoid, even if it's like paying for a coach or working with friends who are also interested in poker, or joining a poker learning community like ours or many other excellent ones out there, it just accelerates your progression, and it sort of just brings you along faster. And we're not all going to be here forever, so you're only going to be getting better for as long as you have. So I think that's really cool. I was a lurker too, lots of podcasts and videos and pen and paper stuff, and it's I'm sure you'll agree, it's nice to kind of have built that foundation yourself, and you can take a lot of confidence in that. But it definitely took me a lot longer than if I had just gotten some help along the way.
As I've gotten older, I've kind of found a few small like chat groups or something of local guys that I've become friends with. Those are helpful. Those are helpful for sure. But I do think I gain the most by my independent study.
Yeah, and I guess everything's all about a mix, right? You want to be able to go deep and focus on stuff yourself, but then sometimes it's just good to get a second set of eyes and maybe a different perspective.
Totally.
And so what do you do now when you're studying these days? Are you using solvers? Are you still doing a lot of pen and paper work? What do you like, come out of a tournament series and think, okay, here's a couple spots I want to look at? Or how do you even structure your own study?
So you guys might not know, but I recently joined the Rec Pokers Club because I stopped playing poker for a living a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
I was going to talk about that too.
Yeah. So like, I don't study. I've kind of like, I'm floating on all the study I did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But before getting out of poker full time, I did a lot of solver work. That was my big push in the last 4 or 5 years of playing for a living. A lot of work on the solvers, and it paid big time.
Yeah.
Being ahead of the curve in poker, big.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because ultimately what you want to be doing is just exploiting the mistakes that everyone else is making. And if you don't, only so many people are going to be that far ahead of the curve, and solvers really were that next generation of training tools. John?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you typically play? Did you play cash games or mostly tournaments, live, online?
Yeah, I've mostly played cash games throughout my career playing poker. I do enjoy tournaments. Back when I played online, I would usually play all tournaments online and kind of just fire. And then when I'm playing, I'll play like my local games and cash games, and then I'll take some trips every once in a while to play tournaments, like down to Atlantic City or Vegas or LA. Those are fun, and of course, at the World Series every year, it's fun to fire tournaments. I always say like, I'm gonna grind the cash games this year. They're so good. Then I get there and I'm like, but I want to win a tournament every year. So.
Yeah, that's part of the glory, right? Is and apparently the key is just to give up, to retire from poker and stop studying for a while, because you went down there and final table the main thing. Talk us through that experience. Like, I think it's the only tournament you played in the whole series, right? You went down, circled this one, and said, I'm going to make it happen, and then you did.
The main event of, you can't miss it. It's the main event. So it's best tournament of the year. So I really try to make it, but life is a lot different than it was when I was just playing full time. We got 2 kids now.
Wow,
2 kids under 2. Yeah, we do foster care. Currently we have 2. Our oldest, we're in the process of adopting. The 5-month-old boy, likely to go home soon, so that'll be hard.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get away, getting away to play a tournament, especially a long one.
Right.
I went out there, book a 4-day trip, and turns out I'm there for 2 weeks, which is a good thing. But
good thing. Yeah.
Tough on the wife.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, let me ask about that a little bit. How did you get into the fostering program, and what made you decide to take that on? It's such a rewarding thing to be doing, and you're really doing great work with it. Not I don't know you well enough to say if you're doing good work with it, but
Sure.
it's such a great program. Talk about that a little.
Yeah, we really didn't plan on getting into foster care. We'd looked at adoption.
Mhm.
We really wanted to do adoption. We just felt the Lord leading us in that, like, adoption and foster care is such a clear parallel to the gospel, that we're adopted as God's sons. It's
Mm.
by his grace that he brings us into the family. And adoption has always seemed like something that we should do. And then we moved to the Boston area, and a lot of our friends from church were in the foster care, either foster homes or supporting them. And once we saw it up close, we just felt like, wow, we have to do this. So we just kept stepping through doors, and pretty soon we were fostering, and it's been very hard and very rewarding, and all the feelings in there. But it wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, I know your faith is important to you, and it's part of your community. How do you ever feel any kind of conflict or tension with the gambly aspect of life, or even just the people in it? I know for people outside of poker, there's maybe not, maybe a grimier view of what actually happens in the poker world than is actually there.
Occasionally I'll get an off comment. Usually it's ignorance more than anything else, or sometimes someone has a family member that gambling can harm people,
Mhm.
and that have their family's been affected by it, and they just have a bad taste in their mouth, and I totally get that. But a lot of it is just ignorance. Some of it, I mean, I've got friends from church that are like, man, why didn't I buy a piece of your main event win?
Right, right.
A lot of support too,
Yeah, I'm sure.
it's
Uh,
just something that is not seen a lot in the church, so it's mostly just talking to people.
that's a
Them,
good point.
yeah,
Yeah, getting it out
educating.
there, getting
Yeah,
getting it in front of people, right?
sure.
Yeah. And so when it comes to like selling action for the main event or something like that, so what was that experience like this time, kind of coming back, being away from poker a little bit, but also, having your sights set on this? What Take me through how you kind of prepared for it, and how it felt going through the stages.
Yeah, I wish I could say I prepared much for it, but I don't play poker for a living anymore, and I
Right.
wasn't going to study a lot for it. So I did sell action. I think I planned on selling 40%, and then I oversold because my buddy won, that sort of
Yeah. Oh
thing. My buddy
yeah.
wants a piece,
Yep.
but it cost me a lot of money.
Yeah. That's why you gotta
Uh,
stick to those deadlines when you tell
right.
you gotta be serious about this stuff. That's funny,
Yeah.
man.
So I ended up selling, and between sales and swaps, like 49%.
Yeah.
And what was the end of this question?
Oh,
I feel
just what was it like being kind of outside of it, but still progressing to the final table? And it must have felt in a way very familiar, obviously, even though even though you'd been away for a while.
Yeah, oddly, I didn't feel much pressure throughout. I was My prayer throughout the main event was just to be content with every outcome.
Hmm.
And I've been in big tournament spots before, and I found that I just need to have open hands about this. I can't control outcomes,
Hmm.
and just try to be present and playing my best, and that's it. I mean, not so different from a non-religious person who is trying to just play their best and let the results happen. Um, but I'm praying. For me, I'm praying. I'm saying, God, you control the cards. Like, there's nothing. You've created this world. These cards aren't special and out of your control. So offering that to him and just saying, I'm content. I want to be content with every turn of the card. So that helped me a lot. It helped me stay calm, helped me stay present. And somehow I made the final table.
Well, I think that is a lesson that religious or non-religious people can take. This is really an approach to mental game ultimately,
Sure.
where
Prayer is huge for mental game.
oh yeah, I bet. And we kind of do have to surrender to the odds, to the variance, to the outs. We don't get to control that kind of stuff. Um, do you find that there's a tension between kind of being okay with every outcome, but also like wanting to win? So
Mhm.
how do you, in the moment, do you find that when you're thinking about that kind of stuff, like is that almost like an ICM related factor where you're like, well, I'm not going to play scared here because I'm going to be okay with whatever happens? And does it give you confidence to like take shots where you know you're supposed to, you know what I mean? Like, does it affect your strategy, or is it more just sort of like bringing a calmness to you?
I would say it's more a mental game. Of course, big spots are going to affect your strategy because you're nervous, or you're looking at a pay jump and you're maybe overvaluing it, or you really want to win, you're undervaluing a pay jump, stuff like that. But mostly, mostly just mental game. I would say the way that I would put it is, I want to execute well and then leave the like studying and worrying about how I did for later. When you're in a tournament, when you're playing, you just execute to the best of your ability and leave the worrying about it for study time later.
Yeah, well, we're both golfers. So my dad always told me that you practice on the range and you perform on the field, on the course. And so the course isn't where you go and try and experiment and work out things and plan. You just do what you're doing best, go out there and perform on the course, and then go tinker around on the range and the practice green and that kind of stuff, because that's where you get to experiment and get better. I like that. You were saying before we got started, you were saying you haven't had a chance to be golfing much this year, but that you're an avid disc golfer. That's amazing. Steve Fredland, who normally hosts this edition of the podcast, also has another podcast about disc golfing. It's called Northern Chains. And you're Chase, if you want to be on there, I'm sure Steve would love that. Everyone else can just Google Northern Chains and maybe give that a listen to. Steve's got a wonderful, a passion for many things, and it's great to hear him talking about that with some of the great disc golfers out there. Do you have a group that you play with near Boston, or is it is like a family thing, or who do you disc golf with, and how often do you get a chance to get out?
I try to go once a week. It's a little cold out now. I haven't been in a couple weeks, but I try to go once a week when it's warm out. And it is one of the activities, especially now that we have kids, that is like for the most part, my solo time to be alone. And the place I go is kind of out in the woods, and I'll put on like some music and just chill and play. Occasionally I'll invite some friends, and we'll have like a guys outing, a little foursome, and we'll go play. But my weekly disc golf games are time to get away and disconnect.
Yeah, just like real golf, it is a great way to just spend some time out in nature, and you can do some good thinking out there. So the last question, I know I want to honor the time that you gave us to this week. You've played in a lot of different tours. You've played in a lot of different casinos. You've had success kind of all over the world. What are a few of your favorite stops or your favorite events or poker rooms or places that you think recreational players might enjoy if they get a chance to visit?
My local room at Encore in Boston was one of the most beautiful, awesome rooms in the country. And then it shut down in COVID and they haven't reopened. So that's a shame.
Yeah.
That I would have said was a great room, but we'll see. I think they're going to reopen soon, but we'll see. What else? Borgata is always great, especially for tournament series. Borgata runs a good tournament. They got that big convention space. They're always a lot of fun. I like the small little card rooms too. Like lately I've been going up to New Hampshire, like 40-minute drive, playing in some little card rooms up there. Boston Billiards Club, like your local card rooms, especially if you just play for fun. Usually those are the places to be. Everyone's just having a good time, and getting some food, if you're getting a drink or something, and splash some chips around. Yeah.
Nice. Well, last thing before we go, I know it's been a while since you were playing with a lot of recreational players, but is there one sort of strategy mistake that recreational players make, overplaying something or being too wide? Or is there one sort of like general note that you'd say, hey, recreational players, if you're trying to take this next step, here's something to start doing or stop doing?
So I would say recreational players tend to be afraid to like look dumb or do something dumb. And I can't tell you how many times I would do something dumb or try something, and knowing that it's going to fail a lot and I'm going to look stupid when I turn this hand over. But here's where it comes to executing too. If you're like, I studied this spot, I know this spot, and I'm going to go try to execute it. And I might look dumb because I might misapply it for a while. I might not choose the best hand, but then you go and you study it again and you get better at it. But a lot of times you have to like get in there and get uncomfortable when you're playing because you're trying something new and you're going to look dumb. That's okay.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, some people do, especially, let's be honest, the poker world has people in it that are kind of, they'll berate players, or they'll say rude or nasty things to people, and if they, make them feel stupid and stuff like that. And that is a reality of, some people in the poker world, not the majority, but some of them. So, that's why we try and really maintain a positive and encouraging learning community here at Rec.Poker, and we don't make fun of people, and we don't put people down, and we just ask questions, and we're not afraid to look stupid and to be wrong. Because how do you ever get better if you only talk about things you already know, right? I mean, how do you ever improve? You can't.
Yeah, you know what? The players that you see never improve are the ones that won't admit when they're wrong too. And that's a big thing.
Yep. You said it, man. Well, we're not going to get any closer to Zen than that. So, Chase, if people want to reach out to you, I know you've got, you're on Twitter. Are there other places that folks can connect?
Twitter and Instagram are usually my go-tos. My Twitter is Chase_Bianchi. Instagram is just Chase Bianchi, one word. Feel free to hit me up. I love it when people message me. I try to get back to everyone. So yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully you'll get a few more follows from the Rec Poker crowd. And this episode is going to come out next Tuesday. So it'll be, actually, let me just pull the calendar up. I should have had this up before, on the 14th. And so hopefully we'll pick up, get a little uptick on some Twitter action then. And Chase, thank you so much for coming and sharing this time with us and sharing your story, and some tips and some fun bits out of there. I think hopefully you'll be hearing from us again, and we can get a chance to connect, maybe with one of we're doing a road trip down to the Boston area or something like that. I'd love that.
Yeah, I would love to come on again. I enjoyed it, guys. Have a good night.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Chase. We'll see what our friend Jonathan Little has to say, and then we'll move on to the next part of the show.
Have you ever wondered whether you should call a preflop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it, or do you just call? What do you do with ace-king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/RecPoker right now.
There you go, folks. You heard it from the man himself. Head over to PokerCoaching.com/RecPoker and take advantage of a little discount deal we've put together, and also, of course, the money back guarantee that Jonathan Little puts out on all his amazing stuff. So, John, that was a fun one. I'd sort of seen Chase in the poker world, followed him on Twitter. He's a fun character. I hadn't actually spoken to him before, but that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so did I. I think, it has proven to me that I've got a couple of good things mastered. I am very good at looking stupid. And, I am very good at thinking I did something wrong. So, I figure I didn't hear much else to become a pro. So I think I should almost be there now.
I think so. I think they refer to that as the learner's mindset. There you go, John.
Yeah.
I think that's half the step, half the job right there.
There you go.
Well, I do hope some people go out and follow Chase_Bianchi on Twitter, and send him some love and tell him thanks for sharing some time with us here at Rec Poker Nation. We do have a couple other things to get up to. I mentioned at the top of the show, Gareth James from the MTT Poker Academy is going to be getting more involved here with our Rec Poker Premium membership. So early in the month, every month, we're going to be dropping a feature-length training video from Gareth and the MTT Poker Academy. And then on the third Saturday of the month, we'll be getting together for a study group where Gareth and I will kind of just take some questions, mostly Gareth. I'm just going to be there to record the session and let people in from the lobby. But if you have questions for Gareth James, I'd encourage you to come post in the forum and watch the video and come and join the session. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I should tell everyone, I say this every once in a while, we've added some new groups at Rec Poker. So if you go to rec.poker, it's free. Just sign up with an email address and a smile. we're trying to use the groups more to share our different areas of interest, things we're trying to study, the things we like about poker. So you can join a group of other like-minded people and just focus on that aspect of it. So we've got a lot of groups here. I see, speaking of which, I'm going to promote Tim Fritz if he wants to join the panel here as we close things out for the night. Tim's a member of our wrecking crew. And we've got a group that Tim's DTO Sunday morning warm-up session is all about. So we'll talk to him about that in a second. But yeah, please do check that out, get more involved. And if you have any questions, just, post in the forum, and or you can always email me, jim@rec.poker, and let me know what's up. John, why don't you take us through the home games, and then we'll talk to Tim on the other side of that.
Sounds good. So first and foremost, Fergie 56, Kim Kilroy, won her very first No Limit Hold'em Championship Series of the year.
Oh, that's the Wednesday night. That's the, okay, way to go, Kim.
Yep, so that will, of course, get her into the Tournament of Champions, which I believe is going to be playing the day after this podcast drops.
You're right.
It'll be Wednesday, December 15th, and anyone who won a No Limit Hold'em Championship event will be there. And then we add players to get up to 18 players based upon the Player of the Year points race. So I've announced everyone who's there. If you're there, go ahead and sign up. If you don't sign up early, then there's a chance that we will go on to alternates. So make sure you get there and reserve your spot. Of course, you'll only have one day by the time you listen to this. But... Okay. Then in our daily series, Torinar, Joshua Campbell won his first nightly victory.
Welcome, Joshua. He's a new premium member, so congratulations. And that's some of that premium member run good. Way to go, Josh.
Excellent. 7 High 11, John Crowell
right on.
got his first victory of the year. Keck Geek, Mark Kiki, that's Keck Geek Sr., got his sixth nightly victory for the year.
No slouch.
And then Steve Tucker went back to back to get his second and third nightly victory of the year.
Wow. And was that on like the Thursday and the Friday or something like that?
That was on Friday and Saturday.
Wow. Way to go, Steve. So, back to back.
Technically, there were a couple of tournaments in between because we have 4 tournaments on Saturday, but that's still back to back for the nightly series or the nightly games and the daily series.
Yeah. Way to go.
For the mixed practice event, we had Keto Man 335, Kian Tavakoli got his third daily mixed victory for the year.
Nicely done, Kian.
And then international events, Chad McVean got his second.
Yes.
And Raz Corto got her second.
All right. Congrats, Raz.
And then on to the LPP Sunday event on December 5th, Bruce K54. Bruce got his first LPP Sunday event. So contact Jim at rec.poker and you can get your free month to learn pro poker.
You're going to love it, Bruce.
And don't forget, on December 18th is the final heads up event of the year to award the final seat for Marek Madness.
That's right. That's a great point. So John, this is going to come out on Tuesday, the 14th. That night, there's Kim Kilroy's Poker Empowerment chat session at 7:30 Eastern. Then, like every Tuesday night, there's the online play and hang. On Wednesday, there's the book study and the championship home game. On Thursday, there's Taylor's Twitch Thursdays. There's Eric Jin's Peel event, the Play, Explain, and Learn. On Friday, we're going to drop another episode of the Forums edition. And then on Saturday, holy cow, we're releasing a Learning with Partners video. There's a 8 a.m. Central Time international series. At noon Central, we'll be having our study group with Gareth James. At 1 Central, there will be the Heads Up series that you just described. At 2 Central, the second international game. And then at 9 p.m., the mixed practice game alongside the nightly No Limit Hold'em game. Then on Sunday morning, it's Tim Fritz's DTO Sunday warm-up. So holy cow, we got a lot going on this week. And let me tell you, folks, it's like this every freaking week. All of those events happen every week over here at Rec Poker. So Tim, since you're coming in after the interview, you missed a chance to chat with Chase, but welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing on Sunday mornings. I've been able to join a couple of those sessions, and they are fantastic.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we do DTO. DTO, they have a post-flop trading tool. They also offer cash games and a pre-flop trainer, but we focus around post-flop, tournament, just MTT. It's really great. I mean, there's so many spots you can go through, and like the subscription tier that I have, they run all the solves for us and everything, but we get to play through the hands, and then like, oh, we might run into something where we're like, well, why are they doing that? And then you can break it down, you can click on it after you get your score at the end, like, okay, they bet big here this time, okay, let's click on that. Okay, they're betting big here with all these different combos, but it kind of lets you know, like, okay, these are what the bluffs should be, these are what the value hands are. When they bet big, you can click on your screen and be like, okay, this is what I should call with. This is the bottom of my range, the top of my range. And it's just seeing those percentages has helped me myself just so much. And I use the tool before I play every time. Like if I play on Wednesdays or Sundays or whatever, I always use the tool. And so it's just kind of my own way of giving back to the group in a sense, like, hey, I do this anyway, come join me and warm up for your Sunday session.
That's awesome, man. And I think, especially when, recreational players like us, we don't play every day. We were talking about this with Chase, actually. You can kind of get rusty, even just taking a few days off, or just not thinking about poker that often. And I find, if I'm only playing once a week or something like that, when I load up on Sunday mornings, I am absolutely donking a tournament or two, just spewing off, making stupid, undisciplined decisions because I'm not like practiced and prepped and in the right mindset. And I'd much rather be gaining that, refreshing myself through a study group than through donking off an $11 tournament or something stupid like that.
Right. So like, since you mentioned that, like even when I go play live, like whether, I'm waiting in line or, okay, I've registered, but the event doesn't start for half an hour or so, like I'll run through some hands because like you said, like, if you haven't played for a little bit, by the time you get up there, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you get hit with a decision and you're like, you know what, I call. And then you're like, oh, well, wait, now that I think about that, like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, that's such a bad feeling, isn't it, Tim?
like, it's much better to donk off on an app that tells you like, hey buddy, like that was wrong, than buy into this $500 tournament and you're like, oh, I guess bullet number 2, here I come.
You said it, man. That's awesome. Well, it's just one of the great things we do here every week at Rec Poker. And Tim said it here, it's just we like doing things that we would do already ourselves to make us better at poker. We just like sharing that with the group. So this is just another way to come along and get engaged and see what works for other people. Maybe it'll work for you. You never know.
Right.
All right. Well, any other thoughts to lend to our podcast listeners? We're coming up on about 45 minutes, so we want to free them up to their other podcasts and their families and loved ones, whatever else they're getting up to today.
I just have something real quick. I heard you mention the Gareth James thing coming up.
Yes, and you're a Gareth James fan too.
Student of Gareth there.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody to check out whatever he's offering. I don't know the exact details, but definitely check it out. That single person has changed my game for the better.
Wow. Nice.
Just 100%. Like I give him all the praise in the world.
Well, he's a great coach, and he really thinks about poker well, and he knows how to teach too. He knows how to bring people along and coach, and that's a different skill than playing poker well. Not everybody has it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he's very friendly, will answer any questions, will not be like, oh, that's, for lack of a better term, that's a dumb question. Like he will, he understands that everybody's at a different level of their game and will answer it to the best of his ability, which is miles beyond where I'm at, and just any question, I would say just ask him away and he will answer.
Nice. Well, one of those groups that we're talking about joining over at Rec Poker is the MTT Poker Academy study group. So I'd encourage everyone to go join that and start posting questions and answers. And we'll get to know Gareth a lot better over the next few months. We'll be seeing him in these monthly study groups. So I'm excited for that. People should go check it out. But I guess there's another group over there as well, Tim, the Dreamers group, that we could talk about a little bit here too, because you like to stream. Taylor does. We've got a Monkey System and Gibber. We got a few folks here that like to stream their play, and there's discussions and stuff like that. So what's going to be going on with that? How are we going to use that?
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome, like where we can all kind of come together, give different ideas of, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, like my background right now. Like Monkey Systems actually sent a link out on Discord this week of a video that he found where somebody was describing how you can get these backgrounds actually in OBS for while you're streaming.
Right.
And I noticed he was using one on his stream, but just things like that, where we can help. You're going to see everyone's schedules as the group kind of comes along, so you can follow. Obviously, like there'll be, if I'm streaming while somebody else is on and I get done, raid their channel.
Yeah.
Send your viewers over to them. Just kind of a community thing more than anything. But it's definitely, we're going to kind of watch it grow and see what we can do with it.
I'm excited, and I see you guys are already like sharing Rec Poker skins and stuff like that to make it easier, and different ways of recording and compressing stuff. That's really cool to see the group coming together like that.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Jones on that skin. I have got a lot of compliments on that skin.
Yeah, Chris Jones, he knows what he's doing, no doubt.
Yeah, that skin was awesome. I know a lot of people from Gareth's group that are kind of starting to get into streaming. They're like, "Oh man, how'd you do that?" And I was like, "I got no idea, but a guy made it for me. I'm sure if you paid him, he might make you one too."
That's right. Yeah. Well, just tell them to join the free Rec Poker learning community, and they can download it right from that group. I think we'll have it up in the Dreamers group available for everyone to use.
Yep.
I'm excited for that. All right. Well, we're going to head off and record an episode of the Forums edition in about a half an hour. So John and Tim, if you want to join, you can go get a bite to eat before we get back into the salt mines. Yeah. Back into the poker strategy salt mines, get the whip out. But I guess I'm going to mention our sponsors once, because I did not hit that at the top of the show. So I want to thank Website Amp and Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack and Casino. And I told them I'd do it twice every episode. So let's just make sure that we really thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack and Casino and Website Amp. And now everyone's covered, and that sounds really good. So thanks to them. Thanks to Martha. Thanks for Tim and John. And of course, Chase Bianchi and Steve Fredland, who couldn't be here tonight, but and of course the listeners. You guys are the best. Talk to you soon.